Follow these 4 tips and make your journey to becoming a moonshiner smooth and easy. I started helping people make their first batch of moonshine about 3 years ago with my website, podcast, YouTube channel, and Moonshine for Beginners group on MeWe.com. I've helped dozens of people get there. So in this video, I'm taking all that experience and I'm going to give you the top 4 tips that if you follow will make your path to Master Moonshiner fun and easy. So let's get into it. Tip number 1, jump in with both feet. I say this because a lot of times people will tell themselves, I need to learn this, I need to learn that, I've got to learn everything I can know before I even start. And there is some logic to that, but there is also some problems with it. You're just going to have to understand that you're going to screw up. You're going to mess up some ferments. You're going to scorch some grains. You're going to make your still puke. Any number of things that can go wrong. You're going to experience some of them. Some of them are going to be catastrophic, and some of them are not going to be that big a deal at all to fix. So keep in mind first that we've all goofed up. It's just part of the learning process. It's just to get from point A to point Z, you got to go through all of that stuff, and some of that stuff is going to include screw-ups. It's just how it is. But more importantly, you learn some of the biggest lessons in those failures. So embrace the failures and learn the lesson and move on. The steepest part of the learning curve happens in the doing. That's why at the end of all my audio podcasts I say, and don't forget, doing is improving. I don't say researching is improving, because researching is helpful, but it's the doing that teaches you things. This is also why I recommend the cheap stills on Amazon, like the Vevor. I know a lot of people have some things to say about these stills. They're made in China, they're cheap, and all of that. And, a lot of that is true, but you can learn a ton of stuff from one of those little stills. And you can be saving up your money for that really nice high dollar still that you want in the future while you are learning everything you need to learn on that Vevor still. And I know several people that have been using Vevor stills for a long time, making some good liquor. So that small price point of the Vevor will get you in the game now so you can start that doing and learning. And one of the reasons I want to get into that a lot of people stand back and they do a ton of research and they want to have all this knowledge before they even start is a fear of making somebody go blind or killing somebody with methanol. The truth is, that's all myth. Don't worry about that. I've got some videos about methanol. There's other videos on the internet about methanol. In order to cause yourself or anyone else any real harm with methanol, you almost have to be trying to do it. So put those fears aside and just jump in there and start moonshining. Tip number 2, get into a moonshine community. Find an active moonshine community to get involved in. And you'll find out just how many of us there are out there. There's a lot of people out there home distilling. And it's a big community and you're going to be welcome in it. So get involved with one of those communities. Find one that you like. Start meeting people, start asking questions. You're going to get a ton from it. There are a lot of great moonshine groups out there that I could recommend, but there's just a bunch of them. What I will recommend is Moonshine for Beginners on MeWe.com. Our group is daily active, like all the time, all day long, people active. And I would even say it is probably the most active moonshine group on the internet. We do fun little trivia questions. We do giveaways every month. There's all kinds of stuff in that group that you will love. So come check us out. I'll put an invitation down in the show note description. And being in one of these groups is going to give you some extra confidence when it comes to making your first mash, because you're going to have this community around you that is going to be willing to jump in there and help you through any problems or issues or obstacles you might run into. I see it happen all the time in our MeWe group where somebody's having problems and they get in there in the chat and start asking questions, and people are eager to jump in and help. So That's another great example of how you will benefit from a moonshine group. So pick your group and get involved. I really think you should pick our group. The invitation's down in the description. Tip number 3, get a triple scale hydrometer. This is probably the most important tool for the moonshiner as far as a learning tool. For the beginner, you're going to run into problems, especially when you're fermenting. It's one of the difficult parts for the beginner. You're going to get some ferments that start misbehaving and not acting right. And without the hydrometer, you really have a hard time troubleshooting what might be going on. And when you jump into that community that I told you about and say, hey, my ferment's not doing anything, what's wrong? People are going to ask you, what was your starting gravity? Well, if you don't have a triple scale hydrometer, you don't know. You can't tell them. And that's going to be one of the first questions people ask. So get a triple scale hydrometer. In fact, most people say get 2 at a time because they break easy. I'll put an Amazon link down in the show notes. And for the 4th and final tip, start with simple recipes. We're all chasing that one thing that we want to make perfectly. A wasp. We're all chasing that one thing that we want to make perfectly. For some people, it might be a bourbon, or it might be a brandy, or it might be a scotch, or it might, who knows what it might be. A lot of those recipes that people want to get into are complex recipes and not easy for the beginner. So skip those in the beginning. Get some runs under your belt with some easy recipes. And the easy recipes are the sugar mash recipes. There are 2 really good, simple sugar wash recipes for beginners. One is Uncle Jesse's Simple Sour Mash. You may have seen it called UJSSM. It's a pretty simple recipe, and it's pretty easy to make, and it tastes pretty dang good. The second is the one I use to teach beginners with, and I call it the Super Simple Beginner Recipe. It tastes great, and it's almost bulletproof. It's so simple. If you want to check out the Super Simple Beginner Recipe series that I made, it's right here. If you want to check out a series Pat did on the UJSSM, I'll put it right here. Go ahead and choose one and get going today.